In East Asia, a new major war is brewing between South Korea and North Korea, which the United States and Russia could be dragged into. This is as a result of North Korea's decision to deploy about 10,000 troops into Russia to help Putin fight Ukraine. Reports say that Russia might use the North Korean troops to help in a place called Kursk, where they want to stop Ukraine from moving in. This is important for two reasons. First, it fits a deal made in June, where Russia and North Korea agreed to help each other if they are attacked. Second, Kursk is a key spot in this war. If Russia can get some fresh trained soldiers to help in Kursk, they can move their own troops to other areas, where they are getting closer to breaking through Ukraine's defenses in Donetsk, potentially opening the door to big gains onward towards Zaporizhzhia and Dnipro. Ukraine has occupied a small salient inside Russia for 2.5 months. After a surprise cross-border attack in August, North Korean troops are expected to bolster Russia's ongoing attempts to kick out Ukrainian forces. Putin's reliance on North Korean troops might be considered a tacit acknowledgement that his illegal invasion of Ukraine has not gone according to plan. Russia has suffered an estimated 600,000 troops killed or wounded and has had to expand an unpopular conscription. For Russia to turn to impoverished North Korea for fresh troops might be cause to think that Ukraine, with American and NATO support, is winning. To fully understand the geopolitics behind this tension, we will need to answer three important questions. 1. What will Kim Jong Un and North Korea gain by sending troops to Russia and getting directly involved in a foreign war when they are already heavily hit by sanctions? 2. Why is South Korea bothered about the presence of North Korea's troops in Russia? 3. Russia loses about 1,000 troops per day, so why is Ukraine, South Korea, and US bothered by just 10,000 troops sent by North Korea? In 1910, Japan took control of Korea. This meant that the Korean people had to follow Japanese rules instead of their own. Japan made many changes in Korea. They built railroads and factories, but they also took away many of the Korean people's rights. After the Second World War ended in 1945, Japan lost its control over Korea. This was a big change, and Koreans were happy to be free. Soon after, the Korean peninsula was divided into two parts. North Korea would be a socialist state led by Kim Il-sung and backed by the Soviet Union, and South Korea, a capitalist state led by Syngman Rhee and backed by the United States. The hope was that the two nations would balance power in East Asia, but it quickly became clear that neither state saw the other as legitimate. After a series of border skirmishes, North Korea invaded its southern neighbor in June 1950. This invasion set off a proxy war between the two nuclear powers and the first conflagration of the Cold War. The US pressed the newly created United Nations Security Council to authorize the use of force to aid South Korea. The US had assumed the war would be quickly won, but that notion was soon proved wrong. In the early days of the conflict, UN forces pushed into North Korea and toward the border of Communist China, which responded by deploying more than 3 million troops to North Korea.
In Korea, United Nations troops push on in the cautious advance against the communists. An advance whose purpose, General Ridgway states, is not to seize ground, but to wipe out the enemy.
Meanwhile, the Soviet Union supplied and trained North Korean and Chinese troops and sent pilots to fly missions against UN forces. On July 27, 1953, North Korea, China, and the United States signed an armistice agreement. South Korea, however, objected to the continued division of Korea and did not agree to the armistice or sign a formal peace treaty. So while the fighting ended, technically the war never did. As many as 4 million civilians are thought to have been killed, and North Korea in particular was decimated by bombing and chemical weapons. North Korea is a small country that doesn't have as much money or resources as its neighbors. It is surrounded by stronger countries like South Korea, which has better weapons. The country's paranoid leaders worry that the United States might try to change their government, similar to what happened in other countries like Libya under Muammar Gaddafi and Iraq under Saddam Hussein. Because of this, they see nuclear weapons as their way of protecting themselves. Kim Jong Un was already supplying Moscow with ballistic missiles and ammunition, particularly artillery shells, but the deployment of troops takes their partnership to a new level. The North Korean deployment gives Putin additional manpower to prolong this conflict, which will soon mark 3 bloody years. The North Korean reinforcements also help Putin with his larger goal of demonstrating that Russia is not isolated on the world stage. It comes just after he hosted a summit of the BRICS group with leaders of Brazil, India, China and South Africa, the original members along with Russia, and newcomers such as Egypt, Iran, Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia participated without formally joining the group. Ostensibly, the BRICS group's goal is to help countries of the Global South challenge US dominance in global financial institutions. Putin used the event to thumb his nose at Western leaders who have imposed sanctions on Russia and to showcase that he still has high-level friends. By helping Putin, North Korea gets cash from Russia for its troops and access to high-tech military equipment it has been denied because of United Nations sanctions. Technology that could be used against South Korea in event of a conflict. The North Korean troops will also get real battlefield training in modern-day warfare, including use of advanced weaponry and drones. The experience would prove invaluable to the North in a future conflict with South Korea. Putin's effort to internationalize the Ukraine war extends beyond North Korea. He has also turned to Iran and China. The latter has been stepping up purchases of Russian oil, gas and grain. Iran has supplied Russia with ballistic missiles, and Russia has reportedly given targeting data to the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen for its attacks on ships in the Red Sea. A deadly axis of hostile anti-American and anti-Western powers is deepening military cooperation and is determined to challenge US global primacy. Russia, China and North Korea are nuclear powers, and Iran is an aspirant to the nuclear club.